Police Director Tony Armstrong, Terrence Oldridge, the fourth Memphis officer killed in the past 4 years. The family of a 12-year-old Cleveland boy fatally shot by a cop, responding to a panel's findings on the officer's actions.
Tamir Rice was killed following a response to a 911 call of a potential danger in a park.
There's a guy there with a pistol.
Outside experts say the officer who fired the fatal shots, Timothy Lohman, did not use excessive force. The boy's family is criticizing the prosecutor for failing to hold police accountable. In a statement, they say the officer shot Tamir Rice without assessing the situation and finding the boy actually had a pellet gun.
Fox Radio's Vernal Scott.
Paul Ryan is a good man. He's a great communicator, the kind of messenger I think our party needs.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, who chairs the Republican Conservative Freedom Caucus, says members already endorsed Florida's Daniel Webster to replace John Boehner as House Speaker, but Ryan would be a great choice. Ryan now chairs the House Ways and Means Committee, repeatedly said he doesn't want the job, but is now said to be reconsidering. You're out. Major League Baseball suspending Dodgers infielder Chase Utley for games 3 and 4 of the National League Division Series after his rough slide into second base last night. It broke the right leg of Mets shortstop Ruben Tejada.
Grounded, Chase Utley go in hard at second. They continue to tend to Ruben Tejada on the field here.
The call, courtesy TBS. Some of Tejada's New York teammates say the whole thing was intentional. The NLDS now tied at a game apiece after the Dodgers won at home last night. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
How can you get from here to there? We've got the answer from the ChicagoRadioDeals.com Traffic Center.
I'm Paul Bodenloss with a look at the roadways. Solid delays on 190, the O'Hare extension, heading eastbound between O'Hare and Manheim. That's because of a crash taking out the right-hand shoulder. The westbound lanes have solid delays between Bessie Coleman Drive and O'Hare Airport because of an earlier crash. On the Kennedy, heading inbound, it slows down between the O'Hare extension and Canfield. It's also pretty solid between Fullerton and the Circle interchange. That was because of an earlier crash. O'Hare to downtown is 36 minutes. From the junction takes about 20. And finally, the Eden Spur Ramp heading eastbound. It slows down between Waukegan Road on the Tri-State Spur Ramp to the Edens Expressway. Taking a look at the temperatures tonight, 60 and clear skies. Tomorrow, 74 and partly cloudy. Currently at 74. Next update in 15 minutes on AM560. The Answer.
If you're looking for a better shooting experience, imagine shooting virtually all your firearms the same day. You can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, or compete in a 3-gun match. You can exercise that rifle out to 600 yards, even engage in a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. Do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Whether you're a novice looking for a basic course or an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, even if you want to participate in your favorite shooting event such as IDPA or cowboy action shooting. Spend an enjoyable day with the family at the Aurora Sportsman's Club, the only shooting facility in the region that offers all of that and more. If that sounds interesting, don't miss the next orientation and a tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois. Call the membership department at 815-264-9000 extension 44 for information. That's 815-264-9000 extension 44 to join a one-of-a-kind shooting facility. The Aurora Sportsman's Club.
Think you're fat? You might just be bloated. Find out by calling now for a free trial of Nubiotics, the new breakthrough that flattens bloated bellies fast. For a free trial, call 1-800-959-9644.
I used to be plagued by potbelly and constant bloating. After taking Nubiotics, my belly flattened and continues to get flatter. My sense of bloating and discomfort is gone.
If you've got a big belly, you might not be fat. You might just be bloated. Nubiotics is scientifically formulated with natural ingredients to flatten bloated bellies fast by cleansing pounds of rotting food and toxic sludge from your body. It even combats periodic heartburn and acid reflux. So just think how much better you'll look and feel. Think you might be bloated? Call now for a free trial of Nubiotics and see how much flatter it makes your belly. You might be surprised. But hurry, call now for details while these free trials last. 1-800-959-9644. That's 1-800-959-9644. 1-800-959-9644.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. I would have done it.
I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen's guest will be Don Moran, president of the Illinois State Rifle Association. And they'll be talking about the Chicago alderman's attempt to get Superintendent of Police Gary McCarthy fired for not solving their ward's violent crime problems. You learn why it's not really necessary for illegal immigrants to be allowed to vote. They can get Hillary Clinton elected by doing nothing more than moving into a community. Then Donald Trump, real or elaborate canard to wreak havoc on the Republican Party. And be sure to tune in to segment 6. We'll be discussing the end of the American dream, the Pacific trade deal, all that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600. Go to Facebook and like our page, On Target Radio, and ask a question there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
Within 6 hours of the Oregon school shooting, the president was on television telling the world we need, you guessed it, more gun control. Never mind, what he proposes would have had no influence on that or pretty much any prior mass shooting. 2 important things came out of that press conference. The first is that he truly has no regard for those affected by the event. Instead, he preached, quote, "Right now, I can imagine the press releases being cranked out. We need more guns," they'll argue, fewer gun safety laws. Does anybody really believe that? There are scores of responsible gun owners in this country. They know that's not true. We know because of the polling that says the majority of Americans understand we should be changing these laws, including the majority of responsible law-abiding gun owners, unquote. You got to give the man credit for his skill. He can look directly into the camera at the American public and lie like a champion. He knows his own Justice Department statistics show cities and countries that have the most draconian gun laws also have the highest violent crime rates. Listen carefully, and you will still never hear a word on how successful Chicago is with its strict gun laws thwarting gun-related crimes, because those gun laws have made Chicago the murder capital of the country. But it is here that the second important issue appears. He said, quote, "We know that other countries, in response to one mass shooting, have been able to craft laws that almost eliminate mass shootings. Friends of ours, allies of ours, Great Britain, Australia, countries like ours. So we know there are ways to prevent it," unquote. Both Great Britain and Australia passed gun ban laws and had massive confiscation programs. Despite his reassurances over the past years to pro-Second Amendment citizenry, the facts are now out. Turns out, despite Obama's lambasting about paranoid right-wingers and the NRA's vitriolic treatment of his presidency, we nailed it from day one. Obama has put John Q on notice. He's for eliminating the Second Amendment and barring private gun ownership. He then goes on to say, in a thinly veiled reference to the NRA, and I quote, "And I would particularly ask America's gun owners who are using those guns properly, safely, to hunt, for sport, for protecting their families, to think about whether your views are properly being represented by the organization that suggests it's speaking for you," unquote. Mr. President, here's something we can agree on. The NRA is not representing what I personally believe. I think you're a narcissist that pouts when someone disagrees with you, and you're vindictive to the point that you'll sick the IRS on them just to teach them a lesson. I think you're treasonous for having so severely weakened our military and eroded our international image. I think you're criminal for intentionally making our borders porous and agreeing to take in thousands of refugees, astoundingly, almost all young, unattached Muslim males, simply to significantly shift the population numbers to affect apportioning so you can get more Democratic seats in Congress. Mr. President, the best thing about your presidency is you have spent millions of taxpayer dollars on more vacations and more golfing than any president in history. And that's a good thing because it's kept you out of the Oval Office, where you have a true gift for screwing this nation. Do I think the NRA is properly representing my opinions? No, I don't. I think they've been too damn diplomatic. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Amen, brother.
Amen, brother. You think I'm pandering?
Well, a little bit.
Okay, I'm pandering. We have with us tonight as our guest in the studio, Don Rand, President of the Illinois State Rifle Association. You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Does the President of the does the NRA represent your point of view about gun ownership? I think that's a valid question.
I think it is.
I think they do too. This is the murder. We're now murder capital of the United States.
Impossible.
Hard to imagine. How could that happen?
The
right?
president said that communities with the strongest gun laws have the least amount of violent crime.
So we're good.
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently we're good.
Despite the numbers.
Well, that is embarrassing. Al Gore, the inconvenient truth?
Right.
Here's the inconvenient truth. West Garfield Park, which has a population of about 18,000 people, they had 21 murders last year, which makes a homicide rate of 116 per 100,000. The world's leader in murders is Honduras with a homicide rate of 90. Okay, so it's worse than the worst place on the surface of the planet.
And that's an entire country. This is just one neighborhood of Chicago.
You know what? If it shows the little engine that could. If you try hard enough, you can eventually achieve greatness. And then we have West Garfield Park. West Englewood has 73.3 murder rate. Okay, it's second place with Venezuela at 53.7. Chatham 58 against Belize, the country, at 44.7. Englewood a little over 52 outdoes El Salvador. That's hard to imagine. South Chicago 48 tops Guatemala. The United States. Now this is the cool part. The United States as a whole has 4.5 per 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about the United States being the murder capital of the world, they're looking at a handful of cities and taking those numbers and comparing them. Overall, we're like fourth, I think, from the bottom, if I recall. I could be off on that, but something like that. Is that about? Do you know, Don, where we are U.S. wise?
No, I don't know.
It's something like that. I bet Ed right now is dialing.
I think if you take out all those major communities, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, I think that we're one of the safest places in the universe.
It's very close to the bottom, right? It's those top. Now, what do they have in common? I hate to spring this on you here, but what do those cities have in common?
Oh, Mimi. Oh.
Gretchen.
They all have Democrats in charge.
There you go. And liberal Democrats. I mean, the transfer of wealth and all that stuff.
Okay, Mr. Euphemism, whatever you want to call them.
I'm trying to be nice to our guests. You know but
he doesn't need to have his feelings protected. He's fine.
I know. At some point, we're tightly controlled and nobody can get in. But here's the reality. The reality of it is this. They've been doing the same thing over and over forever. And it doesn't get better. It gets worse. Isn't there literally, seriously, do they not get a message?
I've been making the argument for years that they use gun control and as a scapegoat for their inability or their lack of courage to address the real issues.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head.
Education, employment. There needs to be a generational shift in Chicago, for instance. It took a long time for all the businesses to move out of the city. Steel mills to close, the rest of that. For employment opportunities to go away, it took a long time for their school system to get to the point where it's 50% dropouts. And it's going to take some time to fix it. It can't be done in one political term.
Or one generation, really.
It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. And there's probably a large number of people that in society, in order to protect society from them, that need to be removed from society.
And that's a really dicey question. I mean, that That is a really, truly a dicey
But
question.
it's easy for them to go step in front of their constituents and say, it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun. It's
Right.
hard for them to fix the school system, to bring employment back into the city. Those things are difficult and they can't be done in one political.
Apparently, you were not listening to the show last week because Rahm Emanuel has figured out how to bring business back in the city. Did you hear about this?
No.
Oh, yes. He's got the plan, right? Am I right? You know what he's done? They have approved street vendors. And we're going to talk about the decline and blaming who's to blame on these cities that have all these neighborhoods that have all this crime. When we come back with more on Target Radio, and you are listening to AM560 The Answer.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer from the ChicagoRadioDeals.com Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the roads to 19.
As if
Right. They had been all along. They're just finally going to pay their taxes.
So now we'll talk about wanting to fire McCarthy. I just found it real interesting that the Tribune said to the alderman, did you read that article?
Yeah.
Go clean up your act. You live there, go clean it up. It's a grassroots thing.
I know that there is a tweet by Northern Illinois Fireground that said that there was a new administrative policy at the CPD that says that if there's a major incident, the first call goes out to an alderman to get them to the scene.
It goes out to what?
An alderman to get them to the scene.
Oh, stroke me on that one. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. Out there expressing their concern.
They've complained that they've been left out of the loop.
Yeah.
They live there.
So,
That's what one of these articles said was they were like, oh, well, the police came into our communities and in our neighborhoods and had these meetings with the public, but they didn't invite the alderman. I'm like, well, there's a reason they didn't invite the alderman. They wanted the people to be able to speak freely.
Right. You're idiots. They're afraid.
They know that they have to watch what they say in front of the alderman.
They're like feudal pharaohs.
They are.
I got some people that I know that work on computers and they're in Rogers Park. So when he wanted to open the business in Rogers Park, he literally had to go to the alderman and pay him to do it. I mean, come on, give me a break.
I wanted to read this meme. Obama says guns are easier to buy than vegetables or books. Like if you think he's a moron.
Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815.
Actually, he's a very smart guy.
They're liars.
And he knows exactly what he's doing.
They're liars, and they know that they can say it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun, and it takes the heat off their back from doing the real work.
And it also, and this is, maybe I listen to my own show too much, but it always seems like when he does something remarkably unconstitutional, there's a giant mass shooting the next day, and the headlines are all about the shooting. Isn't there an interesting coincidence to that?
That guy Larry that always emails us instead of posting, but tell David after that rant, expect a lot more black to Suburbans on the street.
It does what? He says
Expect a lot more dark tinted window Suburbans on the street.
Probably. Yeah. So somebody actually listens to us.
He replies like every week. He's like that guy Paul used to be. He used to comment every week.
Well, man, I got like 700 notices on Facebook. Well, not quite. 20.
2,700.
Let's close. Same number system.
You and the president, you have one thing now. We both like your jet.
Hyperbole. They love hyperbole.
Stand by.
Like what I said. He said you look.
MB code Chicago.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Do you think the NRA is representing your position on guns? You got a little pearl of wisdom there.
Oh, right. Actually, Rahm Emanuel says that reducing access to illegal guns that drive violence in our communities will help. And Obama says guns are easier to buy than vegetables or books. And on Facebook, it says, like if you think he's a moron.
If I were him, I would be humiliated all the time. People are now just openly making fun of him.
Yeah.
I mean, just literally. Usually you have some respect for the office.
I saw that headline too, that he said, I would get more respect in Europe because, people say all these things about me. They call me names.
The problem is it's not funny, but it is funny. So, okay. So we got Chicago, murder capital of Earth. Maybe wherever the Klingons are from, it's worse. I'm not sure. But here on this land, it's Chicago. And what's his name is doing a movie, Chirac. Okay, they're
Spike Lee, right?
Spike Lee, right? Doing a movie about Chicago.
Chirac,
yeah, Chirac. It's totally out of control. So the Trib did an article, I think a week ago, and basically the Trib said, and I was struck. It was a good article. They go, "Excuse me, Alderman, you live there, okay? You live in the neighborhood. Why aren't you plugged in with the churches? Why aren't you working out solutions to your problems in your ward?" To which they promptly responded,
"We are.
Fire McCarthy."
Yeah.
They immediately fired back with, "Fire the superintendent of police."
The superintendent of police that's just one part of the solution. Arresting the people who are a danger to society and getting them off the streets. And all he can do is arrest them.
Right.
He doesn't prosecute them.
Exactly.
He doesn't sentence them. So now we've got the state's attorney's office. We've got the judges. But that's just one part of the problem. The rest of the part of the problem is the educational system, jobs.
When they come back out, they go right back to where they were.
Well, you and I, and we could have this talk about the United States and other societies and other countries in different parts of the world. But when you lock up young people in this country and they learn a different set of rules for life than we do.
Yeah,
okay?
they're trained.
Their norm is not our norm.
Yeah, that's true.
And they don't feel comfortable in our society. And, that's unfortunate. But if they're not comfortable living under our rules and they have a different justice system and they have different rules that they live by, different moral standards than the general population has, and they're a danger to the rest of the population, they have to be removed from our population and put where they feel normal.
I didn't ever really understand this because when I was with Will County, when there was a problem, we were on their turf. We went to them that's where the problem was, until I kept saying to Paul McKinley, I'd like to have a gangbanger on a show. I'm not going to hassle the guy. I would like to just sit down, try and have some sort of a conversation. Why are you doing this? What's the difference? And we saw him finally somewhere, I forget where, some fundraiser. And he said, I had a guy who was willing to talk to you. And I go, great, let's do it. And he goes, I told him Elk Grove Village. He goes, where's Elk Grove Village? And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I don't think you really understand. Because Paul still lives in the neighborhood. He said, I don't think you really understand. He's probably never been more than 6 blocks from his home in his life. Right. They don't go into the city to a museum. They don't go up. This is it. You cross the wrong street, you're a dead man.
And, in their society, maybe not even as part of the penal system, their society and their neighborhood with the group of people that they live in whatever, relate to every day, day in, day out, are not the same moral standards and stuff that we're used to.
No. It's a different ethic.
I was actually surprised to see that in one of these articles that Rahm Emanuel said that people have to live by a moral code. I was really surprised.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, that he of all people would be willing to say that. And that is what you're saying. And I really think, a lot of the problem, and it goes back to the 60s when it became easier for single parents to get welfare. The guys didn't have to stick around. The women are like, you know what? I'll get this welfare check from the government. Just go and, go away from me. I don't need you here. And it engendered a lot of single parent families that not only creates young males with no direction, it creates young females with no direction. They become the next generation of baby mamas. They're the ones that have their kids in the park at 9 p.m. that end up getting shot. we had a guy on the show who basically said that if you know the hood, he said, those are the kids that are getting shot, or it's the gangbangers kids.
Sure.
That, normal kids are in home at bed at that time of night.
The carnage in some of these neighborhoods is so severe that I think it's beyond that.
Well, yeah, and
it's even if your kids aren't safe at home in their beds.
Well, they get shot in their bedroom
true.
through the window.
There's those instances as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. I don't know how can you ever change something like that? I mean, we're now. It was Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society. Give them free, you know what? Okay, that's what he's quoted as saying. If you give them free, you know what, they'll vote for us Democrats forever. There are now people who are second, third, fourth generation. They've never known anybody that held a job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
How do you change that cycle? What could you possibly? You can't. In all fairness, that kid, gangbanger he may be, didn't ask to be born into that environment. So what are you going to do? Cut him off and let him starve to death? I mean, you can't really do that. Not if you have any kind of moral principle at all. So how do you deal with that sort of thing? How do you get it to change? You're listening to On Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600, if you have the cure for this disease.
It's a tough thing. I used to know someone who worked at Job Corps in Joliet, and that's basically who they're working with. They're working with, these like fourth generation welfare kids who they don't know any other life, and they're trying to give them job, vocational training and life skills and things like that. And she actually taught like life skills was her class, like how to find a job, how to find a place to live. And she would make them do these exercises. And one of the exercises she made them do was you have to get online, look at a newspaper from another city, another, place entirely, find a job, find a place to live, figure out how you're going to pay for the place you're going to live. And they go, and, can we figure in our link card? She goes, no, you don't have a link card anymore. They have no concept of that. That's all they know.
It was maybe 7-8 months ago, we talked about a kid who went home in tears because he was teased because he didn't have a link card at lunch.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Everybody had one but him because his parents made a good living and they didn't have a link card. And it was a status symbol in that school, probably most, to have a link card. How do you change that mentality?
I don't. It's gonna be very difficult.
I invited you on the show to come up with an answer.
An answer. Well, the answer isn't simple, and the answer is not one thing. It's gonna be a whole litany of things.
Right.
You've got to. Chicago has got to start looking at all of the different things that affect these people's lives from birth till adulthood, beyond adulthood, to retirement age. They have to figure out something with their schools. Like you said, you can't just say, you know what, we're stopping the system. Everybody get off the train. Yeah. It's all over.
That's not going to work.
Right.
You can't say, we're going to stop paying if you don't have a job in 6 months when there's no jobs. You can't say, I want you to go to work, but if you make, less than poverty level, we're going to take away the public healthcare coverage you have for your children.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take away your child care coverage. You can't do that because then they can't afford to go get a job, even if it's some menial thing that builds a skill set that'll move them on to the next base.
And it's true. There is like a really horrible break point, and I think it's around like $11,000 or $10,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you don't. It's not stepped. There's no staging of it. Of like if you actually have some income, we'll still give you a little bit of help, but not as much help. It's like all or nothing.
They slam the door.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I do agree with that. I have seen that. But then on the other hand, there was a time in my life when I made $11,000 and I didn't go out and shoot people. So, that's not the only thing either.
Well, and you're right. Okay. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. Weigh in on this. We're going to be back with more On Target Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about getting Hillary elected. It doesn't matter if illegals have a vote or not. They can still do it. All that and more on Target Radio. When we return, you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Read this thing. Good, because I'm not exactly sure how presidential.
You might not realize. The problem is you got what I do. I tell them I produce on target radio.
Would you close those grapes? Just
When Otis McDonald moved to Chicago,
So I'm bringing you back.
Mississippi. Okay. When he came here, he was able to get a job at University of Chicago.
What was it, 50s?
As a janitor. Okay. Worked his way up till became a president of his union. Had a successful life, bought a nice home in Morgan Park, raised a wonderful family. The neighborhood started to turn. Those opportunities aren't there now. You know, the people that are born into poverty in Chicago these days are stuck. And the guy who has the most influence on the neighborhood and is seen as the role model for everybody is the guy who's got the donk with the gold chains and sells drugs and makes all the money. And he may know that he only has a life expectancy of, you know, into his 20s at some point. Somebody's going to cap him and take his business and move on. You know? How do you stop that cycle?
They don't know any other way. And
you got it. Well, I've had this conversation with Otis before he passed away. And it was like, you know what, it's going to be ugly and it's going to be painful, but there may be a whole generation or more of people in some of those communities that need to be locked up forever. Okay, because their norm, their societal norm is inside a penal institution. It's not on the streets. It's not our norm. It's not society's norm. You know, and it's unfortunate, but there may be no recovering those people at this point. They were born and raised and brought up in that system, and they have to be removed.
Think about the politics of that, which is what drives us.
I understand it. It's difficult, and you're not going to get these aldermen that are calling for McCarthy's head to make that.
That's never going to happen. It goes back to, you know, and we said this back and forth like many times.
The only reason I want to fire McCarthy is because he keeps laying everything at the head of his lawful gun.
Of course, absolutely, and I agree.
And you know, I'm so sick and tired of hearing it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun, instead of dealing with the real problems. Anybody that's on that list that it's the gun,
yeah. But I agree, and I think even the alderman can help with that, though. What you're saying is a different role model. You know, they could take on, you know, local kids young, like freshmen in high school, like before it gets too late, and to like, okay, well, whatever, before it's too late, you know, have them come into their offices and see a different way of life. You know, let them be an intern, even though they don't know how to do anything, but let them hang around more successful people and see that there is another way of life.
You know, the problem with this is they don't get an environment-rich experience when they grow up. And I think you really, and you've heard this, but when I was on a Howell shooting club, we had somebody who was bringing inner city women in. They call it powerful women. And they taught them a lot of stuff. One of them was how to shoot, how to defend themselves. And there was a black woman, inner city woman, who came out there. She parked her car, and it was late July, so the corn was up waist high. And she said to me, "What's that?" I said, "It's corn." And she goes, "No, really." She could not put the thing on stock with what she seen in the grocery store. Never been exposed to it. I mean, we're lucky when we go, even, and you know, I've said many times, I'm not poor, I'm broke. Okay? We're lucky because even though we're that, we still have had a culturally rich environment to grow up in. They don't have squat. I'm getting the high side.
Nathaniel on line one, he's a guy who grew up in Chicago. So he grew up in Englewood, went to Hyde Park High School. Now he lives in Miami, and he is just struck by how different it is in Chicago. And he talks about how the government has just basically destroyed these neighborhoods.
That's a good one. What am I?
Must be watching online.
Is he?
Well,
he's in Miami. Right?
We're listening.
Yeah, we're listening, right? Watching, listening.
Yeah, 1 minute.
We got 1 minute.
Then bring it back.
What you're talking about, a rich environment. You know, sure. My feelings basically white trash. I don't come from culture. Right. I mean, especially my mom's side. Oh my gosh.
She's listening.
Yeah, she knows. I mean, And, after we moved to Plainfield, I saw that things were different. I was 10 years old, but I was like, this is not cool. This is not what what was in the past. And I realized there's a different way of living. And I literally sat my sister down and I said,
Consolidate your accounts. Late fees and over-limit charges, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands. If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call 1-800-758-5360. That's 1-800-758-5360. Call 1-800-758-5360.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back. More On Target Radio. Hi, I'm Rick Cizak, the Advertising Sales Director for the On Target Media Group. You own a small business needing more exposure to potential customers. What small business doesn't, we can help. For the past 3 years, the On Target Media Group has been helping small businesses grow. We offer many different and affordable marketing packages through our partnership program. Plus, we can even create a custom program tailored to your business's needs. To find out more, contact me today at sales.ontargetradio@gmail.com or visit our website at otmediagroup.net/sponsorship. We look forward to helping your business reach its target.
And we certainly hope you do. If you like On Target Radio, we need help. We need sponsors. ISRA been sponsoring us almost since the beginning. Really appreciate that. Just need more. We got, not from ISRA, we're happy. Just need more sponsors. We got Nathaniel on the line from Miami. Nathaniel, how did you even find us? Okay, Nathaniel, it's your moment.
I got a U-verse radio, and I get you on the internet down here.
Well, thank you.
cool.
We appreciate that. So you grew up here, is that right?
I'm from Chicago. I came up on the in Englewood district, and I worked in my first Jewish bakery on 71st and Paxton out there when it was a Jewish neighborhood many years ago. I'm 75 years old now. I worked in a lot of your Jewish bakeries on the north side over there. And the thing is, it really hurts. And I'm going to tell you the truth. We better keep our guns, because that's the same thing they did to the Jews during the war. I look at the young kids now. All they know is gimme, and it's so much violence and all the music and just everything. It looked like it's backwards, the things going. I mean, it hurts the young people. There's no ambition to work anymore, and we're getting in 100 and something thousand from the Middle East every year, starting now, and we just got 78,000 this year, and now we're and plus the flooding from Central America and all them places down there. The kids look at no hope.
Well, Nathaniel, you're absolutely right, and you're that age. I'm 68. I'll be 69. When we grew up, it was personal responsibility and accountability. A teacher, your neighbor, if your neighbor caught you doing something, he could punish you. And your parents would go, well, you deserved it. Mm-hmm. Now, exactly as you've said, we have evolved into it's never your fault. It's never personal responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. You can sue them, you can blame them, whatever it is. And that's...
I'm going to tell you the truth. My son called me up in Chicago. He said, Dad, they got me down at the police station. Will you come and get me out? I said, what for? he said, some old lady said I snatched her pocketbook at nighttime. I said, how could you tell she was an old lady if it was like that? I said, you got a mother. You respect your mother. You respect that old lady. You do the time, buddy. You do the time.
Good for you.
That's what's wrong. I seen a woman and her daughter together as partners shoplifting in a Walgreens drugstore.
You're absolutely right. It's something that Gretchen and I may have mentioned numerous times. When Richard Nixon got caught with his fingers in the cookie jar, the man was humiliated. I mean, he knew what he was doing was wrong. He thought he'd get away with it. When he didn't get away with it, he was actually humiliated.
Yeah.
These guys, our president and our attorney general, and these people get caught doing heinous crimes, selling weapons to narco terrorists, which end up killing our own agents, and they look right in the camera, and it doesn't bother them. How can you do that?
They're pathological.
That just astounds me that they have the capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, and it's the first law of entropy, Gretchen. It doesn't get better. It keeps getting farther apart, falling apart more and more.
It is, and actually, Nathaniel gave us a great segue to our thing about illegal immigrants. They're pouring into the country, and the Democrats, I think maybe they know that they're juking the numbers.
Oh yeah, they are. They're juking the numbers.
That the more illegals that come into states like California, they actually get more electoral votes.
Right.
Because it's based on population. It doesn't matter what the population is.
And they're trying to shift them to Republican areas. They're sending them to like states that are Republican strongholds because they want to dilute the pool.
Right.
That's literally what they're doing. That's the strategy on how to get Hildebeest reelected. Everyone's
reelected
or elected. I'm sorry. Well, she acts like she runs it already. Yeah. Everybody keeps going, oh my God, we can't let illegals vote. We don't have to let them vote.
Yeah.
All we got to do is make them live in the right place.
Right.
And that'll do it. So that's you're right. That was a good segue in. And we didn't pay him to do that, did we?
No, we didn't.
We didn't pay him a cent.
Not yet.
No. And when we come back from this break, right? I'm bringing it back.
That's correct.
That's it. I can read the script, particularly since I wrote it. I can do it. I can do it. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about, when we come back, we're going to talk about Donald Trump. Is he the real thing or is he canard? Is he out there just to screw up the party? All that and more on Target Radio when we come back after these few messages. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Okay, we should all do our hair.
That guy needs his own radio show.
Trump?
No, Nathan.
Oh, yeah.
He's a talker. Yeah.
Dave, you got some moral support from a friend in Park Ridge. He's a member of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. He told me his first name. I do not remember it.
Dan.
That worked out.
Yes.
What?
Dan Katalski.
Dan.
Oh, Dan? Was that it, Dan?
You know Dan.
What's
your name? So I know who television.
I thought Dan Katalski was their state senator.
Yes, he retired, but he's from Park Ridge.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, he's a member of the club.
Hillary's from Park Ridge, too.
Dan Katalski is a member of the Aurora.
Well, that's why he.
So,
what?
I was being facetious.
No, he said Dan, so I don't.
He's joking.
Yeah.
It was Dan, but
I think it is.
No, Dan Katalski.
We have Dan Katalski in the club. Or we have Katalski.
That's
I'm
Senator.
telling you we do.
That's Senator Dan Katalski. It just retired.
Yeah.
That guy's like super anti-dog.
He would be.
Was he really?
That would not be him.
Oh, no, that would, because but we have a guy named Katalski.
I know the name. I get the joke. I know the name. Oh my God.
Well, all he told me was Dan.
Yeah,
Dan.
Oh, what happened to that show?
Or Daniel.
We got a guy named Katalski.
He wanted to tell you that there are people listening and they just don't call. He was giving you the moral support. He said because last week you complained because you only had one call.
And there are people listening and they also don't advertise. Tell them that.
Or donate, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or don't. Well, we got 12 people donated. Contribute, not donate.
Well,
contribute. Yeah.
Matter of terms, I guess.
Yeah, well, but, you know.
Yes, contributed.
Police concealed permit holder shoots, kills armed robber in Connecticut cafe. That sounds like a win-win, except it's Connecticut.
When was it?
For Russ.
Oh, did you put this up, Gretchen?
Yeah, just to
Gretchen.
taunt him.
We're trying to run a show here.
So it was today. Is that today's news?
What?
The shooting?
Shooting in Connecticut?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
And if you read the whole story, they also talk about what happened yesterday.
Another one?
Yeah, I put up on my page, I put concealed carry 2, bad guy 0. Yeah, there was, what did they say?
But it's Connecticut. They probably go to jail for it.
No, I don't think so. They're calling him a hero.
I'm still bothered by the fact that I shot a no-shoot target tonight.
You should be.
It's on your head, brother. It's on your head.
In the 1970s, when they started shooting dipstick stuff, I was in the Air Force, and we used to say hostages were expendable. This guy's stealing a B-52 full of nukes, and you're getting away. It's too bad for you.
5017. Listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And Gretchen and I would like to thank the dozen listeners who have contributed to help keep On Target Radio on the air. If you like On Target Radio and would like to make a contribution, just go to our website, otmediagroup.com, click on Buy Now, and contribute any amount you wish. $250 donors will be invited to come into the studio to watch the show up close and personal. $500 donor gets to be an on-air guest host for the evening. Now, more than ever, we need your help. The On Target News team has press credentials to cover the 2016 SHOT Show in Las Vegas next January. We'll be there conducting video interviews and reporting on what's happening and then posting them on our Facebook page. If you'd like On Target News to report what's happening at the SHOT Show, please consider making a contribution by going to otmediagroup.com, click on Buy Now, and contribute any amount you wish. That's otmediagroup.com. We got tickets. We got a hotel.
To the Cubs game?
No.
No.
It's a SHOT Show.
Plane
tickets.
SHOT Show. Yeah. We had to step down a little. Last time we went, we were making money, and not the show wasn't, but the school was doing real well, and we stayed at the Wynn, which is my favorite hotel. I love the Wynn. But
so where are you staying this time?
Well, not bad. We're staying at where are we staying?
The Luxor.
The Luxor.
Well, that's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not. But so but I really like the Wynn, and it's right there. It's right where the show is. So but the school's been down a little.
Maybe he'll send you a donation.
Well, you never know.
You mentioned his name twice.
Who?
Wynn.
Win. Yeah.
Steve Wynn.
I don't think that's going to happen.
We love Steve Wynn.
I don't think Steve's going to do it. He puts all his money
Probably
in
not.
Macau. Put all his money in Macau. Yeah. Chinese love to gamble.
Yep.
Some of them do. George doesn't. He didn't.
Actually, it's not even just the Chinese; it's Asians in general.
Oh, it's true.
Because I know
What's all this have to do with Donald Trump's hair?
I know a
You didn't know he's Chinese? Yeah.
I know a Filipino lady who was like, "Oh, keep me away from bingo."
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Don Moran. We invite him on the show, and he immediately takes over. He goes, "We're not talking about Trump. We're supposed to be talking about Trump."
He wants to
He's
run
reading
the
the
show.
script. I've often wondered
Now-
if I could grow one hair long enough that I could do the comb over.
Let me tell you. Here we go.
Spiral come over.
Are you ready for this, Moran?
Yeah.
Are you ready? I'm talking about the Chinese love to gamble. Speaking of gambling, Trump Towers, the casino, he sold it.
Okay.
That's a segue. Right?
Ta-da.
Now we're talking about Donald Trump. You happy?
Is that one of them little two-wheeled things you drive around on?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's close
it's
enough.
also that.
Here's my concern about Donald Trump. And I've said I like what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump is hitting the chord that conservatives have wanted to hear for 7 years.
Mhm.
And none of the conservative politicians, well, Joe Walsh was a firebrand, and you saw what happened to him.
Right.
They redistricted him, kicked him out. But most conservatives don't have the guts to say what Donald Trump is saying.
Right.
And we've been wanting to hear it. The most beautiful thing I've seen that man do is kick that journalist out of that thing because the journalist was being a jerk.
And part of the reason that he's able to do that is because of all the money that he has. He's
Of course.
self-financing.
Absolutely.
So he doesn't have to worry about ticking off donors.
No, he buys the station.
Right. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about, soliciting people for money and worrying about crafting a message that they're going to continue to like to hear.
I'm still thinking Ross Perot.
Well, here and now here's where we're going, because that's exactly it. Here's my concern. This man is not stupid. Okay. I mean, he's a smart guy. How do we know he's not a canard? How do we know? Because we know he's had very liberal things in the past. Now, I grant you some people can change. That happens. But how do we know this isn't just a big jerking around with the Republican Party?
We don't.
And that's what bothers me. What you said, Don, is exactly what, in the back of my mind, I keep going, why would arguably one of the richest men on the planet want to be president? He has more power not being president. He can buy and sell anything he wants.
I also think that he's supported liberals in the past, and
it's. I think that was a big reason why they wanted him to sign that pledge that he wouldn't run as a third party candidate.
Yeah.
Because of the Ross Perot effect.
He will definitely suck votes away. There's no doubt about it. He says all the right stuff. And we interviewed Huckabee. Was quick, but he's probably one of the most intelligent people on the slate.
He's wonderful.
Yeah,
he really is.
So he signed a pledge saying he wouldn't run as an independent. So what?
Who? Huckabee?
No, Ross Perot. I mean,
Ross Perot.
Donald Trump.
The show's going down.
It is. We're all tired, I think.
What? I mean, what holds him to that? What's the penalty if he doesn't?
If he has an agenda, look what he's done with the press conferences. The way they've structured them this time around, we talked about this on the break, is the moderators are really basically controlling who gets airtime. Who's getting the airtime? Donald Trump.
Well, they're also shilling for like Jeb Bush, and they're keeping out people,
right?
The really conservative people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and some of those more conservative, Rand Paul.
So now we get down to the end, and the Republican Party is totally fractured. People haven't been able to get their message out because they're giving all the attention to him. He pulls out, it's total chaos in the Republican Party. Okay, every candidate gets a handful of votes. That is a political strategy. Could be a political strategy for him.
I also have a theory that about a month ago he did, or maybe not that long, but he did a press conference with Ted Cruz.
Right.
And I think maybe he's cooking up a deal with Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is the real political guy. I mean, he's the guy who's, been doing this for a while and has the experience. And so I think maybe they're cooking up something where Trump will pull out and tell all his people to support Ted Cruz.
That's possible. All right, we got to take another break, and we'll come back and wrap the whole thing up. We'll do Gretchen's action items. We'll do a little making peace with the public. All that and more when we come back with more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Safer USA, Chicago's...
Are we going to mention
how much? Segment 6, right?
Yeah,
right.
Okay. The end of the American Dream.
Are you got anything pitched out? You got anything coming up?
Will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection.
Those busts on it.
Holster and ammunition selection.
Here.
A comprehensive walnut designed to keep you up and even out a deal.
Did you find I gave you a flyer? You don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah. Safer USA, the Aurora Sportsman.
Nothing, Don?
No.
Okay.
We are going to have a ribbon cutting
for the range.
Coming up. We're going to invite
when is
any politicians that live within knowledge or districts or within knowledge. We haven't set a date yet. We just started kicking it around that Friday. But I talked to a lot of legislators on Friday night.
So we can't really. There's nothing really announced yet. Well, you can call it in. Or give it
Is that going to be in the spring or before?
No, I don't know. It depends on how quickly we can coordinate. And we don't know what we spent yet. We tried to put the numbers together the other day, but somewhere upwards of $1.5 million.
I'm at 4. I can't remember. 4 or 3.
4 new tactical ranges plus a beautiful classroom building.
Yeah.
And
should we bring in?
Cost you hundreds more. Little as $1 a day, we can help cover more than 300 procedures. Things like cleanings, fillings, crowns, even dentures. Plus, you can see any dentist you want. There are no networks, no deductibles, and no annual maximum. Don't get caught without the coverage you need. Call now for a free information kit about this affordable dental insurance. 1-800-900-3923. That's 1-800-900-3923.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560, The Answer, with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
If you're a high school or college student interested in radio and video production or the shooting sports, both On Target Media Group and Safer USA make available unpaid internships. On Target Radio interns will learn all the facets of the business, from call screening and on-air announcing to video production. Safer USA interns can help out at our Waterman, Illinois facility, both on the range and potentially in the classroom. Interns can take any Safer USA class free of charge, including firearms instructor. To be eligible for an On-Target Media Group internship, you have to have Sunday evenings open every week from 8 to 11 p.m. and reliable transportation as the AM560 studios in Elk Grove Village. The On-Target News team also occasionally shoots video on location at events. Safer USA interns will need to have their weekends open and be able to travel to Waterman, Illinois. For more information, call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
Ed Ronkowski wrote in, by the way, that the U.S. is number 111 in murder out of 218. So we're pretty much in the middle.
Okay. I told you he was typing. I knew he was.
Oh, yeah. 2 new ISRA local groups are forming, one in Chicago and one in Wheaton, replacing the Bloomingdale meeting location. The first meeting of the Heart of Chicago ISRA group will be this Wednesday, October 14th at 7 p.m. at Diez y Ocho Burger Lounge, 2000 West 18th Street in Chicago. The first meeting of the Wheaton ISRA group will be Tuesday, October 20th at 7 p.m. at the Seven Dwarfs Restaurant on Roosevelt Road. I put the info on Facebook earlier today. You are invited to compete in the ASC Fall Clays Classic at the Aurora Sportsman's Club on Saturday, November 7th from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. The cost is $25 for adults and $15 for children, which includes 100 clays, brats, hot dogs, chips, and drinks. You will shoot 25 rounds of skeet, 25 rounds of 5-stand, 25 rounds of trap, and 25 rounds of your choice. The Aurora Sportsman's Club is on Rough Road in Waterman, Illinois, west of Sugar Grove. They would like RSVPs via email to asc.allclays@gmail.com. I put the info on Facebook earlier today. The women's holster class that I teach is changing to a girls' night-in format only. The class addresses firearm selection, rationale for female-specific holsters, demonstration of about 9 holsters, and plenty of time to try on holsters and discuss concealed carry. If you would like to schedule a fun, informative get-together for 4 or more women, contact me or David directly by email, phone, or Facebook. The following Safer USA classes are all at our office in Waterman. Sunday, October 18th, NRA Basic Pistol Course, taught by David. Saturday, October 24th, Tactical Rifle 1 and 2, taught by Eric. Saturday and Sunday, October 24th and 25th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
Rick, we doing segment 6?
Yes, we are. We're going to be talking about the Pacific Trade Deal, the end of the American dream.
There you go. And Don, you got about 30 seconds.
December 3rd, ISRA Legal Assistance Committee, our 501c3, is having a fundraiser at Route 83 and North Avenue at the Diplomat West. And details be available at isra.org.
ISRA is having its own fundraiser. It's not a Steve Ballard's production.
For the Legal Assistance
Legal
Committee.
Assistance.
It's our charitable organization.
Oh, yeah, good. That's cool. It's amazing. The show's gone. So, there it is. We'd like to thank you for listening to On Target Radio. And be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering, as always, the red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank Don Moran for joining us this evening, George Hoffman on the board, our social media coordinator and ad sales director, Rick Cizak, and our sponsors, DS Arms, the Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, Stone City Kitchen and Bath Design Center, and Safer USA.
And as always, Michael, thank you very much for making all of this happen.